If you're in the first year of retirement and it feels like nothing you thought it would, you're not broken. You're caught in a trap most high performing men never see coming. And in the next 12 minutes or so, I'm going to give you the 4-pillar blueprint that gets you out of it. That feeling you woke up with this morning, somewhere between the coffee and the quiet, it isn't relief anymore. It's weight, and that weight has a name. We'll get there. I spent 30 years as a software engineer who became a CTO. 5 industries, hundreds of people, problems that kept me up at night. Then one day, the badge was gone. No title, no team, no mission. I had to figure out who I was without any of it. And what I found almost broke me before it rebuilt me. Here's the data that stopped me cold. A study of Shell oil employees found that men who retired at 55 died significantly earlier than those who kept working until 65. It wasn't from illness. It wasn't from bad luck. Their bodies read no mission as no reason. The shutdown starts in the mind, and the body follows fast. Now here's what I want to plant before we go any further. One of these 4 pillars is going to flip a belief you've built your entire career on. Something that felt like your greatest strength, actually the thing holding you back right now. I'm not naming it yet, but when we get there, every decision you've made for the last 20 years is going to make a different kind of sense. Now here's the roadmap. The third act blueprint has 4 pillars: the audit, daily infrastructure, the knowledge engine, and influence and impact. By the time we're done, you'll have all 4 and 3 actions you can take before the week is out. So let's go. For 40 years, when someone asked who you are, you had an answer ready: a title, a company, a role that told the world and yourself exactly where you stood. That answer was so automatic that you probably never noticed how much weight it was carrying until the date it wasn't there anymore. The first 90 days of retirement feels different for every man, but the emotional arc is remarkably consistent. There's an initial rush of relief. You sleep in, you travel, you tell yourself, this is exactly what you wanted. And then, somewhere around week 6 or 8, the relief starts curdling. The calls from colleagues slow down. Then it goes quiet. Here's the belief I want to break right now. Leisure is a terrible full-time job. The brain, it wasn't built to just stop. It was built for problems, for stakes, for the satisfaction of figuring something out and watching it matter. When you remove that, the brain doesn't relax into contentment. It starts to erode. Relevance doesn't vanish overnight. It erodes. One unreturned call, one meeting you're no longer invited to, one conversation in your industry where your name simply doesn't come up. And because it's gradual, most men misread it as aging. They're wrong. It's withdrawal. I remember the exact moment my empty calendar stopped feeling like freedom and started feeling like a sentence. Sitting at my desk on a Wednesday afternoon with nowhere to be. And I realized that I'd been waiting for something to need me, but nothing did. That's a waiting feeling that isn't retirement. It's your nervous system telling you something important about where your identity actually lived. The identity collapse isn't the end of the story. It's the starting line. That's exactly what the third act blueprint is built for. 3 days. That's how long it took before I noticed the physical side of it. No commute meant no morning movement. No morning movement meant the day started slower. The slower the day started, the harder it was to generate any momentum at all. By day 3, I hadn't left the house. My energy was flat, and my mind was quiet in the wrong way. Not peaceful, just empty. Motion isn't a lifestyle choice at this stage. It's infrastructure, grip strength, balance, daily mobility. These aren't vanity metrics. They're the physical foundation your third act mission runs on. And for men over 60, the gap between I move every day and I don't compounds faster than any financial mistake you've ever made. And that's exactly why pillar 2 isn't optional, it's structural. So let's build the thing. 4 pillars. Each one closes a gap the previous chapter of your life left open. Let's run them. Now, pillar 1 is the audit. Before you can build anything new, you have to separate who you are from what your title was. Those got fused together over 40 years ago, and that fusion is the trap. Sit down with a piece of paper and write out what you actually did. Not your job description, but the real skills underneath it. You solved complex problems under pressure. You read people accurately and made decisions with incomplete information. You built systems, held teams together, figured out what was broken before anyone else did. That skill doesn't go anywhere. The job did, not the man. Once you've stripped the badge, you're ready to assign that capability somewhere new. That's the micro mission. One project, 30 days, a tangible result at the end, something you've built, taught, wrote, or fixed. Not a vague goal, a concrete output. The micro mission breaks the waiting pattern and gives your brain the problem it's been starving for. Now, pillar 2 is daily infrastructure. One of the underrated losses in retirement is the invisible infrastructure a job provides. The alarm, the commute, the first meeting. You hated some of it, but it organized your nervous system. When that scaffolding disappears, days blur into each other, and the mental sharpness that came from operating inside a schedule, it starts to soften. You don't wait for structure to appear. You build it. Lock in a morning anchor. One non-negotiable task completed before 9 a.m., physical or mental, every day. Then protect the 2-hour deep work block where you operate on your micro mission without interruption and build an accountability loop, not a boss, a peer, a partner, or a scheduled check-in that creates the same light pressure that a job used to provide. The guys you admire most, they've always had someone holding them to it. Now, pillar 3 is the knowledge engine. It's where your 40 years of pattern recognition become a competitive weapon. Here's how to deploy it. 40 years of experience is a competitive edge no 30-year-old has, and most men let it sit idle. Instead, feed it. Pick one complex skill or subject and go deep on it for 90 days, not to fill time, but to produce output. Write down what you know about your industry before that knowledge walks out the door with you. Record it, publish it, teach it. The men who feel most alive in their 60s and 70s aren't resting on what they learned. They're still building the map. All right. This is the one I teased at the start. Here it is. Pillar 4 is influence and impact. Most high-performing men define their value by their individual output, what they personally built, closed, or delivered. But your greatest asset now isn't your capacity to grind, it's your judgment. One conversation with you where you've actually been in the room where things went wrong is worth more to a young person than 6 months of business school. This isn't you being generous. This is you being useful in the way only you can be. And it builds a legacy that outlives anything you'll produce alone. And that's the pivot from individual producer to steward of what you know. For me, the shift came when I stopped waiting for something to need me and started deciding what I was going to build next. I sat down, wrote out my micro mission, called someone I'd been meaning to mentor for 2 years, and set an anchor for the next morning. That was it. The weight didn't disappear overnight, but the direction, it came back immediately. Then I committed to one recurring group, not for socializing, but for the operational accountability. And I set one 10-year project with a concrete output, because a decade-long horizon makes the day-to-day noise irrelevant. That counterintuitive pillar, influence and impact, is the one most men skip, because shifting from producer to steward feels like stepping back. It's actually stepping forward into work only you can do. Here's where I close the loop I opened at the start. I told you one of these 4 pillars would challenge something you've never questioned about your own identity. That was it. The belief that your value lives in what you personally produce. It doesn't anymore. It lives in what you pass on. That's the shift. That's what this chapter is actually for. You don't retire from your purpose. You retired from the vehicle. Now you pick the next one. 3 things this week. Draft your micro mission. Set your morning anchor. Make one tribe commitment. Those 3 actions will do more in 7 days than another month of thinking about it. So if this landed, hit subscribe. I put out 1 video a week specifically for guys in this chapter, and you don't want to miss what's coming. The Still Standing community is where guys in this exact chapter are having this exact conversation. Links are below. Come find your people. And if you want the 90-minute habit that keeps your brain sharp after 60, check out next week's video.